very good evening, class, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Guddnite Grenada. I'm George Grant, and yeah, man, it's good to see you guys. I'm kind of feeling nice tonight. What am I talking about? Well, Georgie Porgy was on the road today. Georgie Porgy hit the streets. Yeah, you know that supermarkets were open today, the banks were open, and I'm a little bit surprised, though, that, I expected that after a couple of days not being able to do grocery shopping and, well, after quite a while of not being able to go to the banks, I did expect to see a lot more activity, if you will, on the streets. I'm not saying that I was disappointed, but what I can tell you is that it was just like a sort of normal day with a little bit more congestion. Does that make sense? Nah, not really. Better yet, I'm going to show you some video that I shot. I shot, I think, about four clips, each one less than a minute long, to show you what I picked up on the streets today. But yeah, it was a nice feeling to be out there today, and boy, did we have beautiful weather. Nice sunny skies here. Yeah, it's a great day to be thankful. We're alive and we're living in Grenada. What more could you want? Hey, tell you. All right, in just a wee bit we're gonna check in the he's already there this evening, and by he I mean Mr. Richards. Say good evening from New Jersey. Hope that all is well. Yeah, man. He says, "You're looking nice too. You're shining like a young, a young golden apple." I've been called a lot of things in my life, but never a golden apple. Thank you very much, Theo. He's in New Jersey tonight. Margaret Rello, hi there, Mags. Good to see you, girl. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll say hi to the rest of the gang in just a wee bit. But right now, let's take a look at the rundown and see what we got up our sleeves tonight. First of all, I'm sure you heard that the CARICOM Prime Minister's planned on having a sort of teleconference, if you will, this week, and they did, and they have agreed to a collective approach in the region's fight against COVID-19. Folks, that is actually the title of the release that was put out. They have agreed to a collective approach. What else could they have done? What else? Anyhow, I'm going to share that release with you in just a wee bit. Then this afternoon, let me see, or should I say this evening, about 6 o'clock, Mr. B does not want to be disturbed on a Thursday night, has to get his 40 winks in and his beauty sleep and everything so that on Friday morning he looks real spiffy. Well, I had a chat with Mr. B this afternoon, or this evening, talked about a lot of things, and we're going to share those with you in just a wee bit as well. And believe it or not, just a few minutes ago I checked, and yes, there is a national report tonight, so boy, do we have a full rundown for you, okay? So, I suggest that we get right down to brass tacks, and let me begin by sharing with you this is what the government put out about this teleconference that the CARICOM ministers had. Grenada and other member states of the Caribbean community have agreed to a collective approach to international financial institutions as they seek to access assistance to meet fiscal challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. This was one of the decisions taken at a special emergency meeting on Wednesday, yesterday, held via video conference, at which regional leaders discussed the regional response to COVID-19. Grenada's Prime Minister, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, was among CARICOM heads of government attending Wednesday's meeting, where agreement was reached on the way forward for CARICOM's battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. A press release issued by CARICOM after the meeting said that the heads of government urged, I'm quoting here, urged that the criterion of GDP per capita not be the sole consideration in assessing the needs of the community, and that an understanding of each country's vulnerability is a far better measurement to determine need, especially as we face multiple challenges, unquote. The CARICOM leaders agreed that, quote, additional technical work would be undertaken in specific areas to be presented for their consideration at another meeting, which will be held within 2 weeks. They would be presented after the relevant ministerial councils would have reviewed the proposals, unquote. These include a common public health policy, proposals for which will first be presented to the ministers of health, a proposal for a protocol on reopening borders, and proposals for building a robust digital architecture, including governance, to facilitate digital commerce. Elaborating on his contribution to Wednesday's discussion, Dr. Mitchell said he made the case for more debt relief, faster disbursement of aid, less bureaucratic hurdles, and debt cancellation. Listen to the piece we have coming up with AB in just a few minutes, okay? These measures, he said, will bring faster and much needed relief to Grenada and other CARICOM countries in the midst of their battle against COVID-19. Dr. Mitchell said, governments throughout the region are investing significant resources in the fight against COVID-19. Countries are grappling not only with the health challenges of this global pandemic, but also the extensive economic fallout. We do not have the luxury of time in negating the effects of the pandemic. Therefore, we need innovative and speedy solutions. It's Dr. Mitchell speaking there. As the lead head for ICT in the CARICOM quasi-cabinet, Dr. Mitchell said, in every crisis, there is an opportunity, and herein lies a significant opportunity for the region to foster the development of digital commerce, ensuring that the smaller enterprises are not left behind. This is an area we must quickly address as we adapt to our new normal. At Wednesday's emergency meeting, CARICOM leaders received presentations from the Caribbean Public Health Agency, better known to you as CARPA, the University of the West Indies, UWI, Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, and Archbishop Jason Gordon of Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, man. That was the text of a release put out by the government today following yesterday's meeting of CARICOM heads. Have you noticed everything's changing, okay, including terminologies. Have you noticed a term that is starting to sneak in? I've seen it now in a number of press releases. The new normal. Yeah, man. The new normal. It's on its way. Yeah. Okay, let me get back here to social media. Hello there, John. He's saying hi to me and to the usual crew. Ryan's also there. Theo Richard says, how you doing this evening, Ryan? And Michael Alexander says, on GG in class, a pleasant evening to Mr. AB. Looking forward to a great time. Well, yeah, but remember, I'm going to show AB next, but remember, this piece was recorded at about 6 o'clock this evening, right? Runs for about 35 minutes. Yeah, we got Alan talking a lot this evening. Ryan is responding to Theo. He says, doing okay and keeping to my yard. Just finished salt mackerels and basmati rice and salad. Belly full, life good. Yeah. You guys are making me hungry. The Caribbean leaders have been trying to have a common or unified approach since Federation. Hope this one can go further. Yeah, Theo, let's be optimistic. I'm not dumb enough to hold my breath, but let's be optimistic. Okay. All right, so that's going to take care of the initial hellos. And now we're going to take a quick little break here. Where are we? Yeah. Take a break, and then we'll come on back with my little tete-a-tete with AB this afternoon. Hang in there.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us
as we energize our Spice Island.
Renlec, energizing our Grenada.
Conveniently located in the Grand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granadas will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
The 17th, the 18th? What's the
16th.
date today?
16.
Okay. Who's counting?
I am. You're weathering the storm okay?
Yeah. This is no storm, man. Remember, I passed through Ivan. I had a little fire which took out a block in St. George's in 2002. I've had to deal with issues in the past, so this one is, frankly, this is easy for me because remember, I am no longer responsible for the welfare of 400 people.
That's right.
So
it's called retirement.
I taking it easy, but taking it easy does provide you with the opportunity to look at information coming from multiple sources and to compare what comes out of one source as against another. And so, for example, there was a press release today from the Prime Minister's office where it says Grenada Prime Minister joins CARICOM colleagues for emergency meeting which agrees on collective approach in the region's fight against COVID-19 and so forth.
Yes.
And so it's a précis, I suppose, of the actual press release which came from CARICOM, which one might have expected them to make more reference to or provide a link to, because a précis sometimes doesn't capture all the points. And so while the CARICOM release does not highlight any contribution by any particular individual, this release that we have seen coming out of the Prime Minister's office in the last paragraph says, elaborating on his contribution to Wednesday's discussion, Dr. Mitchell said he made the case for more debt relief, faster disbursement of aid, less bureaucratic hurdles, I suppose that means fewer, and debt cancellation. So he opens with debt relief and finishes with debt cancellation. One would have thought that we had had enough haircuts in 2013 and that given the very significant progress that we have made as confirmed by the various reports we have heard over the last several years, that we would not be following the lead of Antigua, where the Prime Minister is literally threatening the international donor community that if he doesn't get money or debt relief or whatever, that there is a real risk that Antigua will deteriorate into narco-trafficking, social disorder. I'm not sure what else. But clearly, the Prime Minister of Antigua knows his people. And so I wouldn't wish to venture any opinions as to what may or might happen in Antigua if the government can't continue to dispense largesse to their supporters. It's a little difficult when you have people accustomed to handouts and you can't continue the handouts. They then begin to ask you, now, what you saying? And so we've seen here that, according to the press release, we've seen that our Prime Minister made a case. Debt relief and debt cancellation, faster disbursement of aid, and, well, I have difficulty saying less bureaucratic bureaucratic hurdles, so I will stick with. But it is instructive that in the CARICOM release itself, reference was made to the importance of a very significant matter, and I will read it from the CARICOM release. Issues related to food security would be considered in the context of the CARICOM COVID-19 Agri-Food Risk Management Framework, which has been circulated to member states following a Ministers of Agriculture last month. This would address in particular the production and supply of food products. It seems to me that the ocean of this particular from the press release that came out of the PM's office here is unusual. It is perhaps alarming. One would have thought that it would be important to demonstrate that we are serious about moving forward with issues related to food security, when in fact the meeting of Ministers of Agriculture in March had a framework and they're supposed to be working on it. So it occurs to me that the highlighting of just some of the items discussed really does us a disservice. But who am I? I'm not a CARICOM minister. But I would expect that going forward that we hear a lot more about this agri-food risk management framework. Now, it is interesting that at times like these, you have a lot of blame being put about. And the blame game, frankly, is wasting time. It's wasting resources. And I find myself wasting time fact-checking a lot of disinformation that is being forwarded left, right, and center.
I've noticed. I've noticed.
I'm getting wary. But nevertheless, it is instructive because, so for example, I saw a 55-minute documentary allegedly providing research into the background as to what may in fact have happened in the Chinese Hubei province around the city of Wuhan. Very interesting documentary, 55 minutes long. But you can see from time to time that the producer is something called NTD and the Epoch Times. So naturally I looked into that, and lo and behold, it turns out that both of these news entities are mouthpieces for Falun Gong. I hadn't remembered about Falun Gong. They were a sort of religious, semi-religious organization in China that started in the late 90s. And because they were deemed to be a threat to the Chinese Communist Party, their members were targeted by the Chinese authorities, and Falun Gong essentially went into exile. The members who remained in China were brutalized, they were transported to labor camps, they were subject to organ harvesting, and the United Nations looked into this as late as 2007, accused the Chinese authorities under the last chairman, Jiang Zemin or something was his name. He may or may not have been the one responsible at the time for the massacre in Tiananmen Square. But Falun Gong, as late as 2002, I believe, managed to get upwards of 30,000 people demonstrating for the right to practice their whatever it is. Naturally, that went contrary to the principles of the Chinese Communist Party. And so, in much the way that the Muslims in Western China have been persecuted, have 1 million or so, it is reported, have been put into rehabilitation and re-education labor camps. So the Falun Gong was more or less driven out of existence in China. It doesn't stop them in metropolitan capitals all over the world producing a stream of counter-propaganda against the Chinese Communist Party. I hasten to say that the suggestion that the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which leads to the COVID-19 disease, it is not racist to suggest that it should be called the Wuhan virus or the Communist Party virus. It is not racist. It is political. The Chinese are past masters at politics and propaganda. And so, it is clear that Falun Gong, through their mouthpiece, the New Tang Dynasty NTD TV station and the Epoch Times newspaper, have found a way to push the buttons of the Chinese Communist Party and the people who lead that party. They are very cleverly using the power of propaganda to promote the idea that the Chinese Communist Party should not be allowed to get away with calling this COVID-19 when there is a long history of the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese military, which is associated with it, of engaging in, let us put it in inverted commas, research into viruses. And it is interesting that, and indisputable by the way, that the Chinese Communist Party engaged in a cover-up almost throughout the month of January. And this is what led originally to the doctor who blew the whistle, first of all being criticized by the communists, being sidelined, and subsequently dying of the disease after having contracted the virus. I forget his name, he was Dr. Lee something or other. The Chinese Communist Party took every possible measure to cover up what was going on, and then engaged in a propaganda campaign to convince the world how responsible they had been in locking down 58 million people to contain the spread of the virus. Well, as has been demonstrated, whenever they took the decision to lock down the province of Hubei and the city of Wuhan, enough travelers had left China and gone all over the world to spread it. It is presumably not doubted even by the Chinese that the virus didn't just turn up in Italy or Spain. It was community spread. It was spread by travelers returning from China or leaving China to go on trips abroad. Now, as to whether or not in making those trips abroad, they went through Panama in their private planes, or whether they came from somewhere else, we will never know. But thankfully, none of the cases that we have managed to identify, isolate, and treat came through that route, but in fact came through visitors or returning Grenadians coming from both the United Kingdom and the United States. So far we have 14. We haven't heard of any more. Keep your fingers crossed. This is great news for us. What we have to guard against is any premature celebration and any premature lifting of the current restrictions which have been in place in the first instance since the 30th of March. The 20th of April is shortly upon us. I look forward to the scientific determination as to whether or not we are ready for a lifting of the current restrictions and easing, if not lifting of the current restrictions. But I am convinced that it is too early for us to return to business as usual. And I rest my case there.
Well, you know, about the lifting of the state of emergency, it was only just a few minutes ago I was watching CNN, and I saw the head of the American Medical Association talking about this quandary, and you seem to be putting it into the category of a quandary as well, as to whether or not the time has come. And she was saying that any lifting or allowing of businesses in the United States to reopen should be based purely on scientific fact. Are you going along those lines as well? And what scientific fact will it take to assure you that we are at the point where these restrictions are to be lifted?
Testing and contact tracing. So as I said, so far we have 14 confirmed. We haven't, good news, no news is good news. We haven't heard of any more. But we need to be certain, as far as is possible, that there are none walking around. That is why it's so important for people to stay at home, observe all the regulations, wear a mask when you come out, and engage in the physical distancing. I see physical distancing is overtaking social distancing. So I think I go for physical distancing myself. Keep 6 feet away from you, from me, and you. And limit your movements. Let us ensure that enough time passes for symptoms to develop, for them to manifest themselves. What I haven't heard of yet, though, is the all clear being given to those persons who were in quarantine, those persons who were in self-isolation. What is the situation with them? 14 days have passed. In fact, more than 14 days have elapsed since many of them were placed in isolation. That would be of interest, I think. It would provide us with a level of comfort if we were to be informed as to how many people are no longer symptomatic after having tested positive.
Another point that came out today from the United States is that testing should be done. Are you advocating that in a place like Grenada, 100,000+ people should be tested? Is that what
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That makes no sense to me whatever.
So?
What we have done is, having established where the virus came from, which is the UK and the United States, on separate planes, and we've traced the individuals who either were in close proximity or subsequently came into contact with the individuals. That is where this testing needs to be carried out. So we know that some people went to a funeral, I think some people went to a wedding.
Yes.
That is where testing should be concentrated. But it is impossible to consider that you will test the entire population. Doesn't work that way.
All right.
What we have to determine is where were the possibilities and probabilities of community spread, and you test there.
All right. Amy, before we run out of time, there was something you mentioned a little while ago about misinformation or disinformation, whichever.
Or lack of.
Or lack thereof. Well, in this case, there wasn't lack. And I'm sure that you have seen this because I know that in your retirement, you have an awful lot of time on your hands to see a lot of the stuff that's going viral out there. Did you see a press release purportedly from the IMF declaring sort of absolution, if you will, from debt for a lot of these islands, a lot of countries? Did you see that?
Well, I saw it and I didn't take it to be from the IMF, because as soon as I clicked the link on it,
That's
it
why I
said
said purportedly.
Purportedly, yeah. It said IMF, www.imf2020.org. And when you click that, you immediately open up a site called #ShutdownDC. And I just copied a paragraph from it, and I'll read it. It says, "The truth is, this is not real. The IMF did not cancel all debt. #ShutdownDC activists created the IMF2020.org website and announcement." And then they go on to say, "But it is also true that canceling all debts for low and moderate income countries is not only the right thing to do, it's essential at this moment." And then they invite you to sign a petition, which is fine. But the way it was forwarded, that is like breaking news.
Absolutely.
But you can't take anything for granted.
I saw it, and even the wording, the initial wording had me concerned. I thought, now this is just too good to be true. So
True.
Yeah. So seriously, so I decided not to publish it. I will admit, though, I'm a little bit surprised, taken aback, if you will, that the IMF is not aware that there is such a release in circulation, and they have not come out with anything to rebut it.
Well, I guess it doesn't need rebuttal, because as soon as you click on the link, it tells you it's not real, and they're inviting you to sign a petition. So I guess the IMF, I'm sure they have better things to do, because there are a lot of people. I could, if I had the inclination, I could set up a website. It might be nnnp.com. and because people are dyslexic, they might consider it to be something else,
Yes. All right, so that's just another reason why people need to be careful about what they see out there. The next thing I want to talk with you about is, and I believe this one to be legitimate, a warning from the Pan American Health Organization that the worst is yet to come regarding COVID.
Yep, the second wave.
Yeah.
Which is why we have to be so careful with regard to premature opening of our borders. And that is why the issue of food security is important. And I take the PM's office to task for not including that point among the other ones highlighted with regard to, well, I mean, it's amazing, but perhaps not surprising, how quickly they jump on this debt relief and debt cancellation. I mean, you know, it's a bit difficult to comprehend that after having been told that our debt to GDP ratio has been so significantly reduced from 108% or whatever it was down to less than 60% or something like that. Well, of course, that doesn't take into account the fact that we have to find $193 million to settle WRB with interest going every day, you know. And totally unnecessary, a debt burden that has been incurred due to the private and single-minded, I'm trying to find a proper word, private and single-minded determination of one or more individuals to redress what in their mind was the wrong committed by the administration in 1994, which led to the privatization of Grenlec, the so-called privatization, because we have more than 1,600, I believe, shareholders who, as we have discussed at great length before, are not going to stand idly by if those geniuses who have drafted the regulations for the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission think that they're going to acquire shares held by private individuals without paying for them. But that's a whole nother discussion.
A whole nother discussion. Okay. Since I have your undivided attention, let me throw another one at you. I'm sure you've seen on my forum that there's a new debate about the outcome of a meeting of the Finance Committee in Parliament, I think it was yesterday, where $5 million have now been allocated to what is being considered a fund for the severely impacted as a result of COVID. And obviously, it's raised a few ears and a few eyebrows. What do you think of, first of all, that allocation? And then secondly, the reaction. Is this reaction just out of place and mere speculation, or is it a legitimate concern raised?
Well, in the first instance, I wouldn't think that $5 million is enough. But I don't have the data on which to make any serious input. But it seems to me like a little bit of money. Secondly, we did see previously a number of slides showing what were the areas, such as payroll support for people in the tourism industry, support for vendors, bus drivers, taxi drivers. So on the face of it, I don't think $5 million is enough. With regard to the concerns that have been raised, I did hear an audio clip emanating from a New York source, I believe, complaining that this was obviously only going to be distributed by the parliamentary representatives, because there has been complaint made in the past that these constituency offices have been used as a focal point for distribution of largesse. So I suppose there's reason for the concern. But at this point in time, I don't think I'm in a position to say yay or nay.
All right. Allan, you also mentioned food security earlier on. Let's wrap up on this note. But you mentioned food security, and I want to take this opportunity to extend an invitation to your audience tonight to join us on Sunday morning, because let me tell you, we have got something really interesting happening on Sunday morning. There's going to be a forum set up here on Grenada Broadcast where we're going to be hearing from a number of people all around the world. You're going to be hearing from a Dr. Norma Samuel, who is, I understand that she's based in Florida. Dr. Hilami Negwanya, who is based in South Africa. Dr. Cheryl Rock, who is based in California. Alpha Sanan, who is based in Trinidad. Tessa Barry, who was with us on a program you did a few weeks ago, she's in Trinidad also. And Glenville Hall, who's based in Jamaica. People all over are getting together to discuss the issue of food security. And I hope that if you've got some time, you can join us, take a little peek. We would love to see you. Sunday morning, starting at, I think it's 11:15.
Yeah, and perhaps to put put it in a little context, if you could find out from the Ministry of Agriculture, what is this framework that CARICOM circulated, that I am sure would be very useful in understanding what it is. It's called the CARICOM COVID-19 Agri-Food Risk Management Framework. And it followed a meeting of the Ministers of Agriculture. I'm certain that our Minister of Agriculture will have it.
CARICOM COVID-19 what?
Agri-Food Risk Management Framework. So it was circulated to member states. So the first thing is to inquire whether the ministry has it, because it's supposed to address in particular the production and supply of food products.
Okay.
With regard to the supply of food products, remember that the transportation of people and goods by air and sea interregionally, I think that should be intra-regionally, will also come under scrutiny with regard to the operations of regional air carriers.
All right.
Well, they're talking about regional air carriers. I am more concerned about regional sea carriers, because we need to have those cargo vessels moving.
We will give them a call tomorrow morning and hope that somebody will be willing to have a little chat with me. And we'll pass this framework on to the team I just mentioned here. Thanks a lot, Mr. Bierzynski. As always, a pleasure having you.
And stay safe. Stay isolated.
Hey, listen, man. Listen. I was out this morning. I actually walked down Lucas Street here, got down to Co-op.
You had a mask?
I had a mask, man. Looked like Miss Piggy. Seriously. I went to Co-op Bank. I went to Hubbard's, did a little shopping. I didn't go to the downtown core, but around the Carnage, man, I'm going to show that a little later on. Around the Carnage, there was quite a lineup. People trying to get into Western Union.
Okay, yeah.
The lineup went from where Cable and Wireless is there, that junction. I don't remember the name of the street.
Hughes Street.
Hughes Street, all the way around to Western Union. And I am delighted to report that these people were maintaining their physical or social distance.
Physical, yeah, we're getting physical, yeah.
We're getting physical. I also went to Food Fair. Yes, there was a bit of a lineup, but I would say no more than about 20 people. I was a little bit surprised, actually pleasantly surprised, that it was not as hectic as I thought it would have been. I expected there would have been a mad rush, you know, but no. The place was not jammed at all. I'll show some video of that a little later on as well. So,
Well, I guess people are getting used to it now. And as the police said in the last press conference, or the one before, there is no shortage of food on the island.
yeah.
So there's no need for the mad rush. And okay, there will be particular shortages of some items. I mean, you mightn't get onions. Well, if you don't get onions, put pepper, no?
I know Food Fair didn't have sugar this morning. They did not.
Well, that is another discussion. Again, a whole nother discussion. Because the reason you couldn't get sugar is because guess who has the monopoly on the import of white and brown sugar? The Grenada National Marketing Importing Board. You remember there's an inquiry taking place?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You mean it's sweet?
Another discussion.
It's sweet.
It's sweet. We'll have another discussion. Thanks a lot, AB.
Okay, good night.
Take care. Interesting stuff as usual from AB. Never at a loss for words. Folks, while you were listening to that, somebody posted something here on Facebook, which I did see earlier on this afternoon. And thank you very much, Sue, for making mention of us. Sue says here, the New Today can report that American Airlines is set to resume service to the Maurice Bishop International Airport at Point Celine from May 7th. Yes, I did see that earlier on today, Sue. Thank you so much for pointing that out. They're going to be flying out of Miami, and I think, let me take a chance here. I think the fare is going to be something like $415. I imagine that's a return fare, $415 from Miami to Grenada starting May 7th, American Airlines. Now, the big question is, how come we always get this information from outside of the country? I haven't heard anything about this from neither the government nor the tourism authority. And, one would have thought that, they'd be up on this and be happy to share this with the public. It also raises the question, obviously, it means that the airport's going to be reopened. So I would assume that the airport's going to be reopened sometime between now and the 7th of May. But please, it would be nice, really nice, if we could hear this from the people in whose hands our governance lies. It would be so nice. Now, earlier on, before I get to the national report, earlier on, I did promise you that I would show you what I discovered as I scooted around town this morning. I had to go to Co-op Bank, so I walked down Lucas Street, and when you got to the top of Market Hill, which is the intersection with Church Street, this is what I saw. So you start walking down Lucas Street. Now, you see there's Co-op Bank, top right there. As you walk down Church Street, there's the lineup. And you notice that by and large, people are maintaining their social distance, their physical distance. Yeah? Okay. Now, then I went into Food Fair. And again, there was a lineup of maybe oh my goodness. Yeah, there was a lineup of about 20 people. It was not as chaotic as I thought it might have been. Got inside, did my little bit of shopping. I tried to get everything done in less than 20 minutes, which is what you're being asked to do. 20 minutes. You see, no real crowds in there. And I was happy about that. Actually, I left the house here this morning at about 8:30, and I figured I would be in line at the bank until about 10:30. Well, I was back home well before 10:30. Now, let me show you this. This is where there was another lineup. This is on the Carinage. This is as you're looking towards Rennick Thompson. All right, we're going to pan around here, and you'll see that, again, they're maintaining, by and large, social distance. All the way back to where Cable and Wireless used to have their office. There's the lineup. And it's nice to see cars on the road again. Really, really nice. But look at these people trying to shelter the sunshine. And have you noticed too that a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are wearing masks? Yeah. So we're starting to fall in line. Take a look at that. Take a look at that. Now these people were lined up to get into Western Union, get a little dinero, pancake. Yeah. All right. Okay, folks. Let's take another little break, and we'll come back with the national report.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
All right, there's a note here from John. John says that he just took a look at the American Airlines booking site. And he says they're taking bookings from the 8th of May. Yeah, I think that's correct, John. So, there you have it. Hopefully, we'll hear something from the authorities in the very near future, because I mean, it's not just about American Airlines getting into Grenada. I mean, I'm trying to get some stuff from New York, which we really need. And there are a lot of other people from other destinations who want to get in here as well. So stay tuned. Here it comes, the national report from the GIS.
Vendors and fishermen making the most of the opportunity to sell their produce. Details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Thursday, April 16, 2020. I am Sherry Ann Noel. It was a good day for people who have been making a plea for farmers, vendors and fishermen to sell their produce, even while Grenada remains on the curfew to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Thursday was the first of 3 days set aside for that purpose, in addition to which people are enjoying extended shopping hours for a 3-day period. The GIS crew took its cameras to the village of Black Bay St. John, Guave and Victoria to get an appreciation of how the farmers' market rolled out at the various locations, as outlined by the Royal Grenada Police Force during a press conference on Wednesday. While we did not meet large crowds, Sherlyn Paris, who normally vents in the Tug of St. George, says due to the border restrictions, she used the opportunity to sell local produce in her community of Black Bay St. John.
The people are very supportive and I'm very thankful to them for that. Because with school on holidays, kids to take care of the lockdown, and every minute mommy are hungry, mommy are hungry. All parents crying out with that problem right now. So as you get a little opportunity to make back a little something that you had spent, we are very appreciative for it. So far, what they talk about the farmers market and so. But I didn't think they had nothing in place for vendors. But we're still taking the opportunity as the farmers and this place open, we normally come out and look for a little dollar. Because that is what we live by day to day. Through phone contacts. I'll call some of my suppliers and say, well, I need something. If you see any vehicle come in my area, send it for me, please. Because my suppliers are in Grenville, in Sotters, in St. David's, all these kind of places, because my business is based in town. And I'm kind of concerned about my other fellow vendors who live in different parts of the island, and we all do vending in St. George's.
At the Guava Vegetable Market, Mary Ellen Thomas Mitchell, a vendor from Mongrambi, says she cannot be more thankful for the opportunity, since people were complaining that there is a need to make locally produced food available during this period.
I'm very thankful for that. We all blessed because, we get the opportunity so we can come out and, make our little dollar. So we appreciate that.
How has it been for you this morning? Were you able to get enough produce to come forward with?
Yeah, I was able. And then, I just come down as well with a little pepper and thing to see how it's going. Saturday is the day. for me. Saturday is the real day. I have the water nut, the dashing and everything. So we happy. We happy.
She complimented the COVID-19 response team for the measures put in place to curb the spread of the virus.
I'm feeling most happy because, I mean, it's for all of us safety. And then the 6 feet distancing protocol is very good because we don't want the virus, you know what I mean, and it's for our safety, so we deal with it. We have to adhere to it, so we happy. Well, I say to my customers at home, because I have a little business running too, I have the distancing for them. I say to them, well, when you finish, it's money you're touching, so make sure you wash your hands and, you know, be safe.
Another appreciative resident of St. John who spoke to GIS was Myron Branch.
I'm glad for the opportunity. I could get something from the market to go home with. Yes. Yeah.
How long since you visited the market?
Well, about 2 weeks now, nothing is selling in the market. You're shut down. Yes. So I'm glad it opened this morning so I could get like tomatoes and cucumber and cabbage and things to go home with.
What do you think about the whole shutdown and so in order to curb the spread? Are you satisfied that things are being done in terms of curbing the spread of the virus?
Yes. It's a good idea. It's a good idea, yeah. But I hope it won't be too long.
At the vegetable market in Victoria, it was relatively quiet. However, the vendors there too were happy for the opportunity to sell their produce. Moving along, Grenada and other member states of the Caribbean community, CARICOM, have agreed on a collective approach to international financial institutions as they seek to access assistance to meet fiscal challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. This was one of the decisions taken at a special emergency meeting on Wednesday, held via video conference, at which regional leaders discussed the regional response to COVID-19. Details from Rikisha St. Louis.
Grenada's Prime Minister, Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell, was among CARICOM heads of government attending Wednesday's meeting, where an agreement was reached on the way forward for CARICOM's battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. A press release issued by CARICOM after the meeting said the heads of government urged that the criterion of GDP per capita not be the sole consideration in assessing the needs of the community, and that an understanding of each country's vulnerability is a far better measurement to determine need, especially as we face multiple challenges. The CARICOM leaders agreed that additional technical work would be undertaken in specific areas to be presented for their consideration at another meeting within 2 weeks. They would be presented after the relevant ministerial councils would have reviewed the proposals. These include a common public health policy, proposals for which will first be presented to the Ministers of Health, a proposal for a protocol on reopening borders, and proposals for building a robust digital architecture, including governance, to facilitate digital commerce. Elaborating on his contribution to Wednesday's discussion, Dr. Mitchell said he made the case for more debt relief, faster disbursement of aid, less bureaucratic hurdles, and debt cancellation. These measures, he said, will bring faster and much-needed relief to Grenada and other CARICOM countries in the midst of their battle against COVID-19. Dr. Mitchell said, and I quote, governments throughout the region are investing significant resources in the fight against COVID-19. Countries are grappling not only with the health challenges of this global pandemic, but also the extensive economic fallout. We do not have the luxury of time in negating the effects of the pandemic, therefore we need innovative and speedy solutions, unquote. As the lead head for ICT in the CARICOM quasi-cabinet, Dr. Mitchell said, in every crisis there is an opportunity, and herein lies a significant opportunity for the region to foster the development of digital commerce, ensuring that the smaller enterprises are not left behind. This is an area we must quickly address as we adapt to our new normal. At Wednesday's emergency meeting, CARICOM leaders received presentations from the Caribbean Public Health Agency CARPHA, the University of the West Indies, the Caribbean Development Bank, and Archbishop Jason Gordon of Trinidad and Tobago. For the National Report, I am Rikisha St. Louis.
Thank you, Rikisha. Proprietor of Barry's Plaza Grocery in Victoria St. Mark, Derek Barry, is pleased with the system in place for restocking small shops and groceries across the state. Barry says in the early days of the limited state of emergency, sales vehicles that managed to reach Victoria had little or no supplies to offer for sale in the parish. However, after careful review and suggestions by the public, he believes the arrangements in place now will better serve all parties involved.
In the beginning, it was very challenging. But for the past couple of days, things has picked up very much better. In the beginning, the trucks, by the time they reach in Guelph, it's either the time that they are allotted is over, or by the time they reach in Victoria, they don't have any stuff.
As a small business owner, he says he understands the protocols put in place through the emergency regulations. The 6 feet social distancing, he says, is a very good rule that can help in slowing the spread of the COVID-19.
It worked very fine. You have some knuckleheads who would not want to adhere to the rules. But in the final analysis, people were adhering to the rules and they were keeping that 6 feet distance.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
Welcome back. Grenadians are being cautioned that the country is not yet in a position to return to a state of normalcy due to the troubling effects of the global pandemic, COVID-19. Superintendent of Police Vannie Cowan says reports are being made of non-essential store owners and businesses advertising the opening hours for the 3 days that have been made available for shops, supermarkets, farmers and fishermen. He says there is still a curfew in effect and everyone must abide by the regulations until otherwise advised.
We are still under 24-hour curfew. These restrictions, this curfew, there is some leeway that is now being given. And I'm glad that you asked that question because a lot of questions have been posed to me. I'm understanding now that nail technician shops are going to be opening and gyms are going to be opening and hairdressing salons are going to be opening. I want to caution the public here. We are not there yet. Those businesses are not allowed to be opened at this point. Vending supermarkets are given an opportunity to extend the time so that produce can be sold and be acquired by those who need it.
Superintendent Cowan warns that anyone who does not have a valid reason for being outside during the allotted 3-day period will be dealt with. He warned that it will not be business as usual.
The next 3 days are not days for social activities. You should only be out of your house tomorrow if you're going to the supermarket, if you're going to the farmer's market, or in other words, you must be purposeful because we're still in the area of, we're still under curfew and leeway is given so that these activities can take place and it must be focused on that. So all of the other businesses that I heard would be opening, I want to urge, please pay particular attention to the regulation. Do not violate the terms of the regulation. Stay within the ambits of what it is asking us to do. And the next 3 days are shopping days, days for fishermen and for farmers only. And you have to be purposeful about your business, not just drive around Grenada sightseeing, not just coming out to having a good time. It is not business as usual because we are not at the stage where we can let our guard down.
Shopping hours on Friday and Saturday will be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and vending for farmers and fishermen will be during the same time, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And with that story, we come to the end of the National Report for Thursday, April 16, 2020. Now for a recap of the top story. Vendors and fishermen making the most of the opportunity to sell their produce. On behalf of the news and production team, I am Sherian Noel, thanking you for viewing.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy.
To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal.
When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
Pure Grenada, the spice of the Caribbean, endeavors to be a positive source of inspiration for those dreaming of travel. We invite you to dream with us wherever you are. Dream about sipping a fresh fruity cocktail and sticking your toes into the warm white sand at Grandance Beach. Dream about snorkeling at the world's first underwater sculpture park at Molinaire. And dream about taking a dip under the cool, cascading Concord waterfall. We are Grenada, dreaming of welcoming you back to our shores. With love from Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique.
Alrighty, folks, time now to say bye-bye, but not without a parting word from the Holy Scriptures. Tonight's reading comes to you from the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 17, 18, and 19. Get yourself ready. Stand up and say to them whatever I command you. Do not be terrified by them, or I will terrify you before them. Today I have made you a fortified city, an iron pillar and a bronze wall to stand against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, its officials, its priests, and the people of the land. They will fight against you, but will not overcome you. For I am with you and will rescue you, declares the Lord. That reading, my dear friends, Jeremiah chapter 1, 17 to 19. On that note, let's see here. Ryan says, thank you, George. Blessings. Be safe. Yeah, we're safe. Ryan and team, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I do look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow evening at the same time. In the meantime, I send you God's blessings, His love, His peace, and the hope that He gives to all of us. God bless you. Good night.